Hey, I'm Sam from Barn2, and this video is your complete guide to the WooCommerce Product Table plugin. Whether you've just purchased the plugin or you've had it for a while and you're curious to learn more about it, consider this to be your go-to guide. WooCommerce Product Table is one of our most popular plugins because of how easy it is to create fantastic tables of your shop's inventory, which can be searched, sorted, filtered, and includes lightning-fast add-to-cart options. I'll begin with installation and setup, but feel free to jump to any section in the video using the timestamps available on YouTube. As a premium plugin, you'll need to purchase it from our website in order to be able to use it on WordPress. You can find it with the first link below, and as with all our plugins, it comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. After purchasing the WooCommerce Product Table plugin, you'll get an email with the zip file and a product key for activation. In the WordPress admin, go to Plugins and Add New Plugin, then click Upload Plugin and choose the zip file that you downloaded, then click Install Now, and then click Activate Plugin. If it's your first time installing the plugin, this will launch the Setup Wizard. If you don't see the Setup Wizard straight away, click on the plugin settings page, and you can activate your license key here, and then launch the Setup Wizard with this button. Once again, you can check your license key in this box and click Next. Now the Setup Wizard is going to take us through the process of setting up our very first product table. You can also launch the table builder at any time, which will repeat these steps and allow you to create additional tables. So let's go through all of these steps now to create our first product table. We'll start by giving our table a name, and then we'll choose how we want to display it. You can either add it to any page using a block or shortcode, and I would choose this option if you want to manually add the product table to like a normal page or post or some other location which is not one of the main WooCommerce pages. Or you can display it on one of the preset WooCommerce pages. So for example, we can replace the main store layout grid with a table within WooCommerce. And in the next step, we'll choose which of those pages we want to add it to. If you chose to display the table on a shop page, then you'll see a list of the different pages that you can choose. In my case, I want it to be on the main shop page, but I'll very quickly show you how this option will change if you choose to add using a block or shortcode. Now here, this step has changed from location to content. We can either display all products or select a specific subset of products based on something like the category, tags, or some combination of these sort of things. But I'm going to go back because I want this to replace my shop page and click Next. Now we can select which columns that we want to appear in our table. There are some here by default, including the image, which will just show a little preview image of the item, the name, obviously that's very useful, a quick summary, depending on if the product has a summary written, then that will show up in that column. And then we have price and buy, but there are a bunch of other columns we can choose from. So you can go through this list on your own. So we could also add like the category, for example. And if you want to rearrange them, you can just drag and drop this. So it might go here nicely. And let's see if there's anything else we can add. Maybe we want to see these stock levels, so we can add that as well. Maybe that can come right before the price. Pretty soon, I will also go through some additional or advanced column options in the Edit Table screen, and these will allow you to control the width and responsive settings for each column. Now, in the Add to Cart section, these options affect the Buy column in the product table, but if you haven't included this column, then they'll all be ignored. So choose any of the available Add to Cart methods, which could be cart buttons, checkboxes, or both cart buttons and checkboxes. As the default option, cart buttons displays the standard Add to Cart button for each product. Or if the product cannot be purchased, like it's out of stock or part of a grouped product, then a Read More or View Products link is displayed. With the checkboxes option, then it'll show a little checkbox in the buy column instead of the normal add to cart button. And customers can select multiple products at once and then use a button to add selected to cart, which will either live above or below the table. And then of course, if you're displaying both, then they'll see both options. I'm going to leave both enabled so we can see them today. You may also want to show a quantity picker for each product. I'd recommend doing that, especially if you are in wholesale. And variations can be shown either as drop-down lists or showing one variation per row. And you can also adjust the name format. I prefer the drop-down list option, and we'll click next. We can use search and sort to make it easier for customers to find products. For example, we can enable filter drop-downs and choose what filters we'd like. I think we need a category drop-down and tags, but there are others which are based on the attributes in your WooCommerce store, such as color and size. Then you have some options for how you'd like to sort them. You might like to have the date modified or date published, so more recent products show up, and you can change that order, for example, new to old, and then click next. You can also enable lazy load to improve performance by loading the overall page before the product table and loading one page of products at a time. I would only recommend enabling lazy load if you have a lot of products in the table or are experiencing slow load times. That's because due to the way it works, it necessarily limits or changes some of the table behavior. And you can learn more about this in our article about lazy loading in our knowledge base. So for now, I'm going to leave that unchecked. The final page in the table builder will explain how you can add your new table to your website. If you selected to add it to one of the default pages in the create step, then you don't need to do anything further. But alternatively, you can add the table anywhere on your site by either inserting the product table Gutenberg block and selecting the table you just created, or by copying and pasting the shortcode which is displayed on this page. In my case, I created a table that will appear on my main shop page. So I'd like to quickly preview the results of the plugin so far so I can see what else needs to be modified in the additional settings. So for now, let's preview the table, which is on my shop page. So I'll click on Visit Shop. Awesome. So this is already looking really good. I've got my categories and tags drop-down filters. So if I click on something like this, it's going to just bring up those products. I also have the option to modify how many products are shown on this page and a search box, plus all of the columns that I added. It may be a little bit too many, but it just depends on how much info you want to show about each of your products. And note that there are quantity boxes, add to cart buttons, and selection boxes. So there are really 3 different parameters in the buy column. We can reduce this down to save some space. Maybe we just want the checkboxes, or we can use the add to cart buttons. So that was a basic overview of how to create a new table. And now I'd like to get into the more complex settings. So to do that, we need to go to the edit section for our table. This brings all the options from the table builder onto one page and adds a few additional options that were not available in the original builder. To edit a table, go to Products, Product Tables, then find the table that you want to modify and click Edit. You'll see a lot of repeated settings from the table builder, but right now I want to take a look at the editing options for individual columns. So when you visit this column section and you click on the little pencil icon here, the first thing you can modify is simply the name of the column, and you can choose to show that column heading in the table itself. But if you toggle this advanced option, you can see we have a lot more detailed settings that we can configure. The first toggle in this image column allows us to display the product image in a lightbox, but you can also allow this to link the customer to the product page. You may want to offer that. So they click on the image, they go to the product page. However, in another column, for the name column specifically, you can see that the link options is only to link to the product page if you enable it. Every column has this option for a column width, and you can choose a number of pixels or a percentage. If you do go with a percentage, you'll have to go through each column individually and make sure that the total percentage adds up to 100. Generally, I would recommend using the percentage option, as it gives more reliable results across different screen sizes. Now, you may wonder what will happen when the user switches from a desktop to a mobile device. And for that, we have these responsive visibility options. You can set a specific device type for this column to be visible on, but if you're not interested in that level of detail, obviously just leave it on default. And you can also set a responsive priority. A priority of 1 would have the highest level of priority, and then you can go for numbers like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and that will tell the website which columns to keep in the table depending on how much room there is for them. When the screen size gets too small, the plugin will collapse certain columns down so they are no longer visible, and a plus icon will appear at the left of each row. This allows the user to expand the row to show its full contents. If you have a custom field column as well, then you will see this date column toggle. You should enable it if you're using a custom field to store dates. It tells WooCommerce Product Table to treat this column as a date column for the purposes of sorting the table in the correct order. So it's a very specific use case. Now, if we scroll down past these settings that we already set up in the table builder, you can see that there is a few more options in the performance and advanced section. First of all, we can set a product limit. So in this box, you can specify the maximum number of products that can appear in the table. And by default, this is set to 500, but this is not applicable if you're using the lazy load option. Now, you can use the product limit feature to show just say 5 results. Like if you set up the table to show your most popular products and you set the limit to 5, then the table will just show your 5 most popular products. Now, conversely, you could also use this product limit feature to set the maximum way higher than 500 if you wanted to, but you may run into performance issues if you're doing that, so be careful. And finally, in the advanced section, you can resize the images to be another size and shape measured in pixels, and then save changes. If you're interested in updating the global settings for your product table, just click on this settings tab here at the top. Note that while most people will set up their global settings on this page, you can also create individual tables with modifications of these settings using the shortcode options, which I'll discuss at the end of this video. So the first option here is to modify the text on the add to cart button. You may want to add it to basket if you are from the UK. And the multi-add to cart button is the button that appears above or below the table, depending on which location you set. And this allows the customers to add all of the selected items from the checkboxes into their cart at once. Now, it also comes with a singular and plural text, depending on how many items are in the cart. So it could say, add 1 item for this amount of money or this amount rounded. These are simply placeholders for the actual numbers of the items and the prices. So let's change the text to add to basket, and let's change it so the button appears above and below the table. And let's change this to basket as well, just to show you how it looks. Then scroll down to table content. And here we can set a maximum number of words for the product descriptions. If you're not using the description column in your table, you don't really need to worry about this. By default, WooCommerce Product Table respects the visibility settings of each product. This means that if you have used the catalog visibility settings for a product to hide it from the shop, then it will not appear in the product table either. But if you check this box, then those hidden products can appear in the table. You can enable this setting to repeat the header row of the table underneath the bottom row. This is useful for really long tables where the headings have gone above the fold and people want to know the information about what they're reading without having to scroll all the way up to the top. So I'll check that one so we can see how it looks. Under product search, we can display a search box above the product tables, and we can display the number of products found, in this case below the table. We also want to show a reset link so we can reset the search from the same page. And in pagination, we can first set how many products will appear in the table by default per page of results. At the moment, I've set it to 20. You can also set it to -1, which will show all the products on a single page. But I wouldn't do this if you have a lot of products or if you don't want to deal with some performance issues. We can then give users the option to set how many items they see in the table. I can put this above and below the table so people can find it anywhere. There are several styles you can choose from for the pagination type, and this one looks good for me. Then I'll scroll down to responsive options. Here we can control how the child rows are displayed when viewing the table on smaller screen sizes, or when there's just too much data to fit in the table. First of all, click a plus icon to display a child row. This means extra data will be displayed in a hidden child row, which can be shown by clicking the plus icon at the start of each row. Or we can expand all child rows automatically. Just note that this is not compatible with the checkbox add to cart option. So I'm going to leave it on the first option here. In design, we do have a couple of options. For example, we can customize the borders, color, and width, as well as some background colors, header text, and so on. When you're selecting a color, you can enter the hexadecimal code in this box here, and the up and down arrows enable you to change the width or the size. Finally, let's look at the advanced options. So first of all, we can enable Ajax when adding to the cart. If you're using the actual add to cart buttons, then Ajax is a good thing to enable. For advanced users, you can show the shortcode, HTML, and other formatting items in the table. And caching can also be enabled with this toggle, and you can set the expiration time for the caching. And this will be refreshed after this length of time. Down here, we can update the message that customers will read if the table does not have any results. For those of you who also have our Quick View Pro plugin installed, you'll be able to see this additional product links option. This makes for a great integration to include in your table, as customers may desire additional information before adding items to their cart, and with a Quick View button option, they don't have to leave the page that they're on. And last but not least, scroll offset is used when paging between multiple pages of results in your table. Now, in general, the plugin attempts to scroll to the correct position on the page, but sometimes it doesn't quite calculate this correctly. So the scroll offset lets you override this scrolling amount. By default, it's set to 15. And if you find that the top of your table is chopped off when moving between pages, try increasing this to a larger number, like 50, for example. You can also delete the number to disable it altogether. So let's take a look at some of the changes we just made using those settings. I'll just refresh the page. And already some things have changed. Up at the top here, we have the add selected to basket, and all the buttons say add to basket, just like we set up. We still have the page options here. And there's only one page of products because we only have 13. So we don't actually see those controls to switch to a new page. But if I show, for example, 10 per page, now we can see that we have the previous and next options here with the numbers. I also set up Ajax, so when I click add to basket, we're going to see one item added there. If I add 2, for example, and click add to basket, that'll add 2 items. Now, of course, the easiest way to create a new table is using the table builder that I showed you at the beginning of the video. But you can also create a new table at any time using a shortcode. First of all, if I find a table with a shortcode and copy it, so under the collections, I'm just going to edit this page, and I've added this shortcode already to this page, but now I can extend the features of this table with shortcode options. Or if you prefer, you can actually create a product table without this ID, and this is just going to follow the general settings that you've already set up. You can combine as many shortcode options as you like and simply enter a space between each of them. So here are some examples for you. So first of all, we start off with product_table and then a space. Then we define the columns using this option here, and we can just update and add any of the columns into this little space in here. So if we just want to get rid of description, for example, we can just delete that and make sure there's a comma separating each one. And we can set the specific category of ebooks. And we just have to make sure that we have the category of ebooks in our store. And then down here, everything is the same. And then we can also specify something like the image size. I'm going to click Save, and we'll check out how these look. Now, the first table shows no matching products. So this is the text that shows when the table doesn't give us any results. Now, I think it's because my ebooks are in draft format right now on this site. So I should update that and give a different category for this table. But down here, you can see we've set the image size a little bit larger than our shop page here, just for comparison. I'll just quickly change this to something else. Hats, for example. And you'll notice this table is set up without an image as a column. We just have the SKU, name, tags, price, and the buy column. So thank you very much for using the WooCommerce Product Table plugin. I really hope you enjoy setting it up and using it on your site, and I hope it leads to even more sales for you and your business. As you might expect, I couldn't possibly cover every single option and setting that this plugin has in a single video, although I did try. So please visit the knowledge base using the links in the description to read even more about advanced features that I couldn't cover today. And if you need any additional help with WooCommerce Product Table, our support staff here at Barn2 are amazing and they are ready to help you out. Just visit the support center on our website and send them a message. You might also be interested in adding more advanced filters to your new product tables. If so, watch this video next to learn how to set them up. And of course, thanks for watching.